Yo,
Coach,
good.
what's up?
Oh my gosh, what's good with you, girl?
Nothing, man. Nothing. Just listen, trying to get through the day.
I already know. I
How
already
you
know.
how you been?
Man, it's been good. Just really getting out of practice. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. We was waiting. We was waiting. I was like, she'll probably call phone right after we get off.
Yes,
So
yes. Nah, but everything went good though.
no, it went well. It went well. I mean,
Perfect.
of course, we went through all our questions, but we talked a lot about just the habits behind like just the coaches and just
Yeah.
the like yeah, the players, the parents.
Yeah.
All of
Yeah.
that. So, you know, but listen, I mean, let's go ahead and get started because I know you're tired, and I want to get into this conversation. So I was like, man, I wanted to to get the little feel of both of you guys' perspective, but we're here now, and
Okay.
let's get this thing going.
All
All
right, for
right,
sure.
what's up, basketball film? We are back with Coach Peggy Knight, from Austin Peay State University. And we are here talking about developing habits, as a college athlete and as a college coach. I hope you guys are getting on. Our mission of Provision Sports is to make sure that we give athletes what we wish we had when we were younger. Just to make sure that athletes are getting the information they need and knowing if this is the process that they really want to do after they hear the things that athletes have to go through and what the coaches are doing behind the scenes to make sure all of this stuff flows. Coach Peggy, give us something. Give us a little background. Where you been? Where you from?
So, I'm from Sanford, Florida, right? Right outside of Orlando. I've been born and raised there. But my coaching career, I started my coaching career at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, at UNLV. Right out of college, I was very blessed and fortunate to work with Coach KO. Then after that, I actually moved back to Florida to be closer to home, back to Sanford, Florida. But I coached at my alma mater, which is at Lake Mary High School. So I was a head coach there. And then I spent like about 3 years there. Honestly, I love the experience that I had, just being able to be in the environment of high school athletics, just because I was able to really get those kids from middle school, develop them, groom them, build those habits we're about to talk about. But it was very very good. Those kids was very competitive. I was actually lucky to be able to coach kids that were honestly ready to play Division I basketball after coming through my program. And Lake Mary High School, if people don't know, we're very very talented. I'm actually a part of a championship program there. A lot of championships have been won at Lake Mary. Whoop, whoop, shout out to y'all. But after my time at Lake Mary, I was called from Nikki McCray Penson, God rest her soul. She was the head coach at Mississippi State at the time. I was there to help with recruiting as the director of recruiting. And so I deal with a lot of, relationships and building relationships with parents and kids and things like that in that recruiting process. And again, because of my experience being at the high school level, I was able to really bring a lot of value and a lot of experience. Just being able to know what parents want and all of those things and what the kids have as far as the development piece. So that was really fun. So my time at Mississippi State, being in the SEC, everybody knows, super competitive, super gritty, defensive oriented program. But it was very fun. I was actually a part of a program where we were the first team in the NCAA tournament, and we ended up making it to the second round. So that was an awesome experience to be a part of that. And then I'm here now at Austin Peay. Actually, my head coach, Coach Brittany Young, she was an assistant coach with Nikki McCray Penson, and she actually got the job here at Austin Peay as the head coach. And so we kind of crossed paths. We stayed in touch. She heard great things about me. I heard amazing things about her. We met at the Final Four, and here I am now heading into my fourth season here at Austin Peay, coming off an amazing season this past year. Made it to the championship game, even though we lost in overtime. It's all cool, but very excited, man. Like we've built a really good culture here, and I'm glad we're actually talking about the whole habits. So because that's something that we really stand on, and so I'm here 4 years going into this. We're already 4 weeks into the summer workout, so it's been going real smooth.
No, the coach. Listen, your journey is crazy because I remember myself. I remember watching you when you first left and went to Mississippi State, and I'm on TV. I'm like, that's my friend. That's my friend. But no, I
Oh
mean
man.
it's big, man, because you watch the people around you have so much success, and the love for the game, and how they build, and it's so exciting to be able to see the fruit of your labors,
Thank you.
to watch those things. The same thing. I was telling Coach the Seegers the same thing, because I watched her when I was younger, and now watching her as a coach, it's so amazing to watch everybody around you, continue to develop,
Yeah.
everything. A lot of people don't know, but me and Peggy, we were connected from Orlando Boom.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
Junior Boom. Whoop,
she
whoop.
was the junior. She was the junior boom general manager and director. I got some of my girls on
Yes.
here, so if y'all
Yes.
don't know, she was the originator of Junior Boom. And we decided to continue to fluctuate the season, to continue to push the girls, because we wanted to extend, something different, and see how we could reach out to the community. And it's been a really good process of watching these girls, flow like butterflies. I know me and you have many conversations about
Yes.
watching these kids, continue to grow, and the growing pains and the things that you go through as a coach. People don't really understand. So,
Yeah.
but coach, before we go into this, these questions, give us
Okay.
one fun fact about yourself.
Ooh, a fun fact. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Dang, you put me on the spot with that one. A fun fact. Um, if I had to say a fun fact, um, I don't know if it's fun, but I would say I love to dance. Like I be trying to do TikTok videos and stuff. So, I do that in my little spare time. I won't ever post. I have a lot of drafts. So, but I do like to dance. I do like to dance.
Now you gotta post at least one, coach. You gotta post at least
Oh,
one.
it gotta be a good one. The one that I'm actually working on right now is the show the lean one. Have you seen that one?
No, no, I haven't
It's
seen that.
you should definitely watch that. The show the lean. I'm working on the lean.
Oh, I know these. I know what that one
Yes.
is. Oh
So
my
I'm working
god.
on that, but yeah, that's a
My
fun fact.
they
I like to dance.
these girls want me to do TikTok all the time. I can't dance like that, so I don't be trying to get into the
What?
TikTok. I think we did. They got me to do a TikTok, and we ended up going viral. We ended up going viral on doing the TikTok video. Like, I
Okay.
posted it, and then like the next thing I know, like a couple hours later, I was like, "Yo, we got 80,000 likes. We got." I'm like, what's going on? Like, it was lit. It was lit. That was the first time I was like, oh snap! I think we did the
Awesome.
transition one where like our coach was the fit or something like that, and we ended up going live. It was on media day, and the girls were they were super excited. They were super excited. That was the last time I did the TikTok. Last time.
Awesome.
So that's dope. So you gotta post one. You never know.
I, listen, we'll see. We'll see. I have to keep practicing. Once I keep practicing, then I think I'll post a TikTok.
Now we talk a lot about developing habits, and as we grow, as being an athlete till now, we've created a lot of habits, to get us who we are, to be who we are now, and it means as a person, as just like a friend, a coach, because we are all of those when we are in that role.
Right.
Um, Coach, can habits compensate for talent, or is there a point where talent becomes the deciding factor?
For us, no, it doesn't get compensated. The standard is the standard here. Um, the standard is all right here. Nobody's above no one. We have this thing where we call we're alignment. We're all one, so that's very important. No, nothing wavers just because of your talent. If you're good, if you're that, like no, like the standard is the standard, and that's just what it is. So, and then as far as what you talked about, the talent being
The
weight,
deciding factor.
the
Is it
deciding
is
factor.
yeah, is it the deciding factor, where that, like, the habits, actually, like, where the talent trumps the habits.
No, no. This again, the standard is the standard. Like that's just what it is. Because once you start bending and folding, then that means you got to bend and fold for
Everybody.
others. And
Yeah.
no, it is what it is. You either fall in line or you're not here.
So yes, that's big. Because a lot of times, we look at it and kids don't understand like you're going to these schools and that this is your performance base.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about it as like you're working at Hibbett Sports and you gotta every day you gotta break a certain amount of sales.
Yeah.
And you gotta put in something. Coach Zika said something crazy. She said, sometimes you have to empty your cup to fill it.
Yes.
And the biggest thing is that what you're filling that cup with is super important because
Yes.
you can empty it and then fill it back up and say, you know what, I'm ready, I'm good, coach. And a lot of times it can mask, when you got a solid cup and you
Yep.
can't see what's in that cup but
Hmm.
so are you being truthful to who you are, or are you masking that just because you are talented, you're putting on face, and then your true colors start to show once they start breaking down the walls and adversity hits.
Yes. I was just about to say adversity. Like that is the biggest thing that we realize as coaches, anywhere, that adversity is definitely a test. And I think sometimes student athletes forget like it's gonna come. You can't avoid it. It's like you gotta go through it. And I think that's the part of it why the standard is the standard, because you're gonna have a hard day. How do you handle that hard day?
Hmm.
And then you got people, you got your teammates right next to you, on the left and the right of you, maybe the front or back of you, and they're going through the same thing. So it's not like you're singled out and you're by yourself. It's just everybody's adversity hits differently. So I think that's the other part of it too, is just understanding, regardless of your talent, there's always another level to go. And sometimes student athletes are afraid to take it up another notch, because sometimes they're afraid of the success and understand what comes with it. But I think that's the beauty of it all, is just knowing like I put this work in. Yeah, it's tough right now, but guess what? The results of it all is going to be even more sweeter.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you don't even know what kind of adversity is going to hit. Like it's like as soon as it hurts, as soon as it hits, it's like you gotta react quick. And
Yep.
that person that's inside that's you're trying to hold on to, that you don't want to let nobody see because this is who you've been, somebody else this entire
Yeah.
time. You're like,
Mhm.
dang, like now they get to see who I really am. And a lot of
Mhm.
times what I tell my girls is, once that adversity hits or once that real person comes out, now I get to make my own impression of you.
Yep.
So now it's either I lose trust in you, or our relationship changes based off of what I see. So I have to now say, okay, what is it that I got to pour into, and then how do I meet her halfway, because I'm not going to go 75 and you do 25.
Right.
So it's a lot of things that we have to think about when it goes into that. Now let me ask you this: as a coach, I know, like, we talk about the athletes building habits. So what mentally helps you, structure your day to be able to perform the way you do every single day?
I'm gonna be honest, like, I pray a lot. No, nothing against people that are not faith based. But for me, I believe in my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and that's something that I really take pride in. I pray, I read my word. I have family that pray over me as well, people that I can call that are very helpful in that pour into me so that I'm able to pour into others, you know and then, my husband as well, like he's very supportive. He understands the business that I'm in, and even for him, like he coaches young ladies as well, and he's working out with them. So us just being able to pour into each other and help each other with our mental space as well is very important. But I think the biggest thing is just, for me, I feel like I'm in my gift. I feel like that I'm in a situation and in a business where it could be a little left right, but I feel like my gift is to give back, and me giving back is really pouring into these young ladies to strengthen them, to help them in areas that they feel like they can't go. And I think our staff do a very very good job of that. Just honestly, being there for them, not just on the court, but even off the court. Because again, these our parents that we talk to, the kids that are here, they trust us with their kids. So we
Mhm.
have to make sure that we're doing right by them, even on the court and off the court. It's just very important. But as far as just how I'm able to move and do things in a sound mind, oh my God, I go to my Lord and Savior every day. That's important for sure.
No, no, that is super important because I mean you have to create that space for yourself. You
Hmm.
know, because a lot of times, the outside noise of, what you're looking at, sometimes it can be social media. And just like we talk about, the kids get addicted to social media, sometimes we can get caught doom scrolling is what they call
True.
it. Because you just, you got a little free time, and before you know it, 15 minutes to pass by.
Girl, in 15, let's try an hour.
That too, or I'm gonna go to bed at 9, and you still scrolling on the phone.
Right.
So you have to be disciplined enough to create that space for yourself and say, you know what, like I don't want to go into this day with the wrong mindset. I know, like when I wake up in the morning, like I try to have like something called slow mornings.
Yeah.
So if I gotta go to work at 5, at 6 o'clock, I'm up at 4:30.
Yeah.
Trying to get my day started, trying to, so I don't, because I feel like if I rush, then my mind is everywhere.
Yeah.
I probably left something at the house, or now I'm upset because it could have been something important. And you really have to, as a coach, create that space so that now you can pour to those kids,
Yeah.
because we are, getting a little bit in their cup too.
Mhm.
As they're pouring into their cup, we're, also adding things to that cup, to help them feel who they are inside of themselves, or who they're becoming as well too.
Yes. And I think it's important that we do that as coaches because they watch us. Just like, if you have kids, I have two little boys. What I do every day, especially me and my husband, what we do daily, they watch and they observe. And it's the same thing with our girls. Like they watch and they observe us. How do we handle hard when things get uneasy with us? How do we handle problems? How do we solve those problems? Like, so we have to make sure that we're our best selves so that we're setting the example. And that's very important. Again, that's why we always say the standard is the standard. We got to hold ourselves to the standard too as coaches. We
Absolutely.
do the same exact thing. So I think that's very important too for our young ladies to see. And if we continue to do that, coming with great energy, coming in, high spirits, smiling, and going hard, doing those things, bringing all of that great energy. Guess what? It's gonna replicate. They're gonna do the same thing because that's all that they see.
Hmm. No, absolutely, coach. No, that's big. Now, we talked about like the talents and, how, the habits, how they balance out now. But how can athletes intentionally create an environment that reinforces good habits when peers, social media, or outside influences are those big distractions?
Oh man, social media it could be a good thing like what we're doing now, but then it could be a comparison thing. You looking at what other people are doing and you're like, I want that, all of those things. But I just think how they can be intentional. I would say the environment. Like if the environment is what it's supposed to be, if they have the examples they need in front of them, I think it's really hard to deter when you have it right there in front of you. I think it's easier when you're around it and it's not what it is, and it's so easy to just kind of be distracted because it's right there in front of you. It's just like being outside and you see somebody going to the store or whatever, and you're like, well, I want to go to the store and I want to get what they got because it's right there in front of you. But if you see that they're doing the right things and they're right there with you, then guess what? They're going to do that. So I just think it's just all about just being in the right environment and having the right examples around them. Just the cultural piece of it all, I think that's important, and there won't be any distractions. But again, as coaches, I think we'd have to do a good job of being in the example as well. So again, they can replicate what we're doing. Not only that, now they see teammates doing it, and it just makes it easier for them. And it doesn't seem the unnorm or anything. Everything seems normal. So I think that the environment is important.
No, for sure, and that was one of the things that I think Coach Ezekiel's touched a little bit on something, and it was really important that goes with this about the environment. We get on social media, and a lot of kids, I hear kids say, "Oh my God, Coach, like this person got 2 offers, this person got 3 offers,"
Mm-hmm.
and my biggest thing is like I go back to when I was in high school, and I was a senior that got a late offer. And all I told my mom was, I just need one, mom. Give me one. I just need one opportunity to show myself and prove to myself that I can do this. And
Yeah.
that opportunity came. And it may not as look as like what I thought it was going to look like, but I finished.
Yeah.
And that's the goal of everything. And the one thing that I try to tell the kids is stop watching somebody else's journey,
Hmm.
because you don't know the kind of conversations that these kids are having with those coaches.
Yeah.
You don't know if this is actual real offer. Like,
Right.
we don't know like what this guy, what this person is saying, because you have to know the process in order to know the what it looks like.
Hmm.
So a lot of times I tell the kids, like, when they go, like, we just recently, one of my kids went on a tour, for like a virtual tour, and we were on FaceTime, and she was like, Coach, I don't want to go if you don't go. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. So
Yeah.
we go on a virtual tour with them. And at the end, I was like texting her like, "Hey, you gotta ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. I'm not gonna ask you any questions. I'm here for support." And she asked the questions, and then I said, "This is your ending question. This is what you need to say." And we,
Yeah.
we rehearsed it, just teaching them the things and the right things to say. And the coach was like, yes, this is official. And I'm like, these are the key words you need to look for. And this is make sure offer official at that point.
Yeah.
And understanding that process. And, I try to teach them, communication pieces that are very important, because those are going to go a long way. How do you have a business conversation with someone?
Yes.
And, I tell them every transaction is going to leave an impression on somebody.
Hmm.
That coach is going to say, dang, that kid was very attentive to what I was talking about. And we were virtual,
Yeah.
and those are the big things that, kids don't really understand. I tell them all the time, like, when I meet people, a lot of times, like, I used to be super shy. Like, I didn't want to talk to nobody. I want to be in my like, isolation corner, until I became a teacher.
Yeah.
And now I got all these kids that just keep following me around. So now I have to force myself to be personable,
Yeah.
which taught me that, I can be like, a person that, people want to talk to. I have to understand how to, create relationships and boundaries at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but when I talk to the kids, I'm like, well, you don't, quality over quantity. Like, we don't need all of these different offers. We don't need all of these different, attention. You need one opportunity to change your life. And when you get that, remember, the impression you leave on that person is what they're going to remember from you for the rest of your life.
For sure.
Oh, the first time I met this person, she was just, looking down. She wasn't confident. She wasn't this, like, I mean, even though that's probably who you are right now, but don't, I mean, grow from that, learn from that stuff. It's okay to do that stuff. So, you hear a lot of different things, Coach.
No, for sure. Well, I'm glad that you touched on the comparison thing. I say that all the time. Like, your journey is your journey. You can't compare to what everybody else has going on. Whatever is yours is for you. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand. It's like a microwave thing. Like, I want it right now. And it's like, there's a process to everything. Everything has a process. And if you're just patient and you wait and you continue to work and be consistent and be disciplined, then guess what? You're going to get exactly what you deserve, for sure.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes they just have to understand, like, things are not just going to happen right away. Like, you being good at basketball is not going to happen overnight. Like, you have to work at it. Like, you have to continue to do the things that seem very boring, like the one
Habits.
two, yes. All of those things, like the fundamentals of it is very important. And so I'm so glad you touched on that. Understanding that, comparison is definitely something that a lot of people have to just let go and just understand, like, okay, that's happening for them. Let me clap for them, because I know my time is coming, so they can clap for me. And I think that's really important.
No, for sure. Now, I want to ask you something. This is a follow up
I
question. You said fundamentals. Is fundamentals dead in college?
No, not at all. Not at all. We start day one, fundamentals. Always. It never ends. Like, it's always fundamentals, man. We don't stray away from it. The fundamentals is the key, for sure.
No, I had to ask that, because sometimes kids are like, oh my god, it's gonna be so much harder. Yet the intensity goes up.
Yes.
That's what I
The
tell them.
intensity, for sure. The energy and the intensity, obviously the pace, when you get here, going from one drill to the next is very intense, and you got to get there quickly. There's no walking. There's always high level of communication. In high school, I don't know why people don't talk. But so like
Coach,
talking
help
is
me, Coach.
very
Help me,
important.
please.
Talking is very, very important. So just having the high energy and always talking is very important as well. But no, the fundamentals is always in from day one. Like that never ends. And it's every day. It never stops. So, y'all that's watching, fundamentals is important.
No, this is what like I really get frustrated at, because I tell my kids like they're like, okay, we can say defense. I'm like, talk on offense, please.
Yeah.
Talk on offense. Tell them like because you put in a play, and I promise 3 people in that play is going to forget where they're supposed to go next after they do a screen. So I'm like, talk on offense. Like I drill the point guard, talk. Like
Hmm.
you guys, and then it's like everybody should talk a step. So if we're swinging the ball, tell them, hey, come get the ball, swing. Hey, come set me one. And even then, they're like, oh, but we're telling them, them what we're doing. They gotta beat it. Like I'm a firm believer, and if they do, like if they overplay a screen, guess what you need to do? Go
Hmm.
back door, like or go like go the opposite way. Read the defense, like, and I'm super big on that, like because I'm like everybody needs to be able to communicate at a certain level and be intentional on offense when you are communicating. Don't just say, "Hey, ball, ball, ball." I hate that. Hey, ball, Peggy, ball, like talk to me,
Calling names. Call the names.
please, because I can say ball, and then as soon as I cut, the ball going behind me because I wasn't ready for it, or because you wasn't intentional about what you were doing. So that's why I had to ask him like, is fundamentals are not dead? Let's say that fundamentals
No,
are
it's
not
not.
dead.
It's nowhere near. It's alive and well.
Now we talked about this with Coach Ezekiel. Now let's look 5 years ahead.
Okay.
What habits do you believe will become more important as college athletics continue to evolve?
Habits, habits. I would say the accountability piece. I just think understanding like yeah, like you things happen and just holding yourself accountable to what happened. And then I would also say just trust in the process. Understanding that there is a process to everything and just like the habits of it all is like being on time. Like on 15 minutes. We have this thing 15 minutes before the time. And if you could do more than that, that's even better. Cuz like timeliness is a huge thing. Dressing the part, the attire, like looking the part. I think that's very important. That will help young kids, 5 years from now when they get a job or whatever, timeliness and attire and then communication being able to speak up, voice what they want,
Mhm.
especially, sometimes they feel a little nervous or I don't know if I can say something. And it's like, no, like communicate what you want. Let's have a conversation because all questions are good questions. Nothing is ever a bad one. And I think just them being able to articulate for themselves and not have to depend on mom, dad, or even us as coaches when they need something. Especially, I just think of like when you're in school, academics, like talking to your professors, all those things. I think those habits of like just addressing the part, communication, and then timeliness is going to be very important and will carry over into whatever they do after they're done with their college career.
Absolutely, coach. Those are big. I like how you threw in the academic part in there because that's important too. A lot of
Yeah.
times with kids, so they'll you don't want them struggling with a class, and then they're afraid to come tell
Mhm.
you like, hey, coach, I'm struggling. Then in the last minute, you find out, well, this kid isn't eligible.
Exactly.
Like that's a big part of it. And pushing the kid to do that, because I mean, like at our school, we have this thing called flex. And our flex is like almost 45 minutes to an hour long, and in that moment, you got time to go get your lunch. And if you are failing a class or miss an assignment, you get to go to that class and sit in there and you get tutored, during that time. So you can do, you're eating lunch and then you're mingling with your friends. So like, they have that, free space. I think we kind of try to run it like, almost a college, so that kids can understand how to maneuver when they graduate. And a lot of kids don't understand the importance of what that looks like. They're just thinking, oh, like, this is y'all got 45 minutes. Oh my gosh. No, like this is a valuable time to
Yes.
use. And I think they're going to appreciate it once they get to college and say, "Dang, like we got this time in school to do this," and then, or when they get ready to graduate, and it's time for them to, really look back and say, "Oh my gosh, did I waste that time because I was messing around with my friends or I was trying to keep up with somebody else?" And what I try to push the kids to understand is that their journey is not your journey.
Yeah,
So while they maybe have everything together, you could be, a little bit, a couple steps behind, and now, when you look up, they're gone, and you're still trying to figure it out. You
yeah,
know, so those are really big things. That I think is really key on that part of it.
yeah, for sure, definitely.
But now we usually do Q&A, but
Oh,
again, I don't think these
yeah.
kids like asking questions.
No,
So,
not at all.
so, but I want to appreciate you. I know you guys are busy. I know it's recruiting season right now, so I know everybody's kind of in and out with trying to rest and everything. So I want to say we appreciate everything you do and appreciate you getting on this podcast because we really want to try to push out information, to the kids so they are prepared, and
Yes.
not just prepared, that they know they understand the process,
Hmm.
because it's hard, it's not an easy process and it's not an easy adjustment, as you're trying to adapt to being an athlete and not just any athlete, but an elite athlete. And I think when we think about the word elite, we look at like, a basketball term, but an elite athlete is completion. Like, do you have the grades? Are you very attentive? Do you have, these three things or these four things that the college is looking for? Are you respectful? Do you communicate? Is your cup full with the right things?
Yeah.
You know, so I really wanted to appreciate you for that. Jumping on for us, and we hope to see you again. We're gonna try to run some stuff back. You
Definitely. I
know,
gotta get back. I gotta get back.
so again, we want to just say thank you. If you got anything, any advice you want to give to the high schools before we click off, or not just high schools, but coaches, anybody, give us one thing you want to say.
I would just say that I know we're right now in the recruiting season and things like that. For the kids to have fun when they're out there playing, play with no pressure. I know it's really hard to not play with pressure because you want to get a scholarship and all those things, but go out there and have fun and do the intangible things. Everything doesn't have to deal with scoring. It doesn't have to be you scoring the basketball to be seen. If you're a great teammate, if you're clapping, if you're encouraging, you're running to pick them up off the floor. If your teammate falls, making a great pass, setting a great screen, running the floor hard in transition, spraying back in transition to stop someone from scoring. Defense is important. There's just so many intangible things that are very important in this game that scoring is not the only thing that gets you looked at. So that will be the biggest thing that I would say, especially, now we're in this recruiting season, it's evaluation season and stuff like that. So just want to encourage young people, have fun, enjoy the game that you love so much. And just because you don't score the ball don't mean that you're not being seen. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Coach. All right, I appreciate you. Now, I hope you have a good one. Good luck this
Of
season. Hopefully,
course.
I'm gonna try to fly out to a game or two.
Yes, you
You
gotta
know,
come through. Listen,
of
as soon as
course.
the schedule drop, I got you. I
All
got you.
right, all right. Bet, bet, bet. We're
All
gonna
right,
touch base.
girl.
All
Thank
right,
you,
Coach.
Paige. You
Have a
have a
good
good
one.
one. Bye.